Today we're going to be looking at two new vision cards in War of the Visions. The first one is Phoenix, a UR vision card that comes with an Esper and is going to be pretty hard to skip even if you don't have fire units. Then we have a Mighty Obstacle, which is an MR vision card for ice units that should be a little bit easier to skip. As per usual, I have to thank warofthevisions.calc.com for the information used in this video. You can support them on Patreon and check them out. So we're going to talk about a Mighty Obstacle first. This card is going to be ice specific, which is like, you know, a lot of people have lots of ice units. They're a very popular element and there's lots of good ice units, but there's also lots of good ice cards already. So the stats here are pretty unremarkable. It's all MR stats. The bestowed ability gives 15 defense, and this for me is the highlight of the card because this allows you to get like armor level defense from a card for whatever user, and then they could have a more aggressive equipment on, or they could have spirit based equipment, or they could even have defensive equipment, and those are stacking. So if you have some armor with, let's say, 16 defense plus this, that's 31 defense. Like, you're not losing anything there. So this is a really good bestowed effect. You can't underrate this effect. The party ability is kind of interesting because you get wind resist 15 and single target resist 8. Now single target resist is pretty powerful to give to the whole team, but if that's what you're looking for, there's better cards for it. The wind resist is really good. So we don't have a lot of elemental resist in this game, and it's something that people are going to start rating higher when they see King Mont with his elemental resist up, and also seeing things like, well, we can break barriers, we can break defense, we can pierce through specific resists, we can pierce through, you know, defense, spirit, whatever. But elemental is really hard to deal with, except for some people have attacks and limit breaks, but it's very specific. It's not something that's widespread that you have to worry about. So when you can raise your elemental resist, you can actually get quite a big advantage over a specific element. Now in this case, ice is already strong against wind, so they don't need it as much. So it's kind of a shame there, but the elemental advantage isn't everything. So being able to really take care of a wind team could be good in the future, but it's not exactly like, you know, ice's most pressing challenge right now. And then if you get to level 99 with this card, you get Wind Killer, so you can really just beat up on those wind teams if you need. So the comps for this card are Sanctum Assassins and then Odin. And Odin is actually an ice-based party ability as well. When it gets to level 99, it increases accuracy. And if you want single target resist, this is just so much better to use either of these cards. So there isn't something with wind resist as far as I know. So really this card doesn't look like it's going to be too necessary at this time. It's something you can stock up over time for, you know, feature content. So now we'll talk about the Fiery Wings of Legend Phoenix. This card is a fire specific card and it's got really good stats. I'll also draw attention to the 60 dex that it gives, which is pretty high. The 142 attack isn't bad and the HP is okay as well. The bestowed ability is going to give some HP up, so 15% HP up, and that's not bad, especially on EX job units. That's really cool. Paired with Mont's card, you're going to have so much HP on your mono fire teams. But then the party ability is crazy. You get magic resist 20%, which is the same as Fenrir, and then you get another 18% dex for everybody. That's going to affect your crit rate. That's going to affect your hit rate. It's very, very good. So these abilities are all super strong, and it gets even better. At level 99, you get a fire unit only buff that increases pierce attack 35%, which is what the dashing over the snowy hill pierce attack card does. So this is obviously really good for Elda, really good for Winter Mastery, and makes this definitely, you know, a card to go for fire users. Now in global we get special treatment, so we also got a global exclusive bestowed ability, which is attack up for fire units only. So that really pushes this card even further. You know, you can put this for the bestowed on literally like pretty much any fire unit that has attack. So this is going to be really good on your Elda, on your Delita, on your Winter Mastery, whoever it is. So definitely a really cool card. If you have any fire units at all, this is worth considering. So as I said, it compares to dashing over a snowy field in the Fenrir card. So you're getting these abilities that the trade-off is that you have to use fire units for this. Now you don't need 3 fire units in a PvP scenario. You could have 2 and still, that's a really good value, and your 3rd unit might not need these effects. Like, that's not something that should hang you up. It could even be good on a single fire unit depending on your comp. So don't get stressed out about having to have, the triple fire or like 5 fire units for PvE. That's not, in my opinion, like necessary for these cards. Now, the real thing to talk about here is the Esper. I think this Phoenix Esper is good for everybody, and there's a lot of reasons why. So when we take a look at the stats, and these are the max stats if you 3-star awaken it and go to level 99. The one thing I have to point out here is that the agility is pretty low for level 99. So 13 is on the low end, but it does get immobilized resist, which I think is actually pretty good. And then the evocation is actually very interesting as well. So it actually is going to heal your allies, or increase their HP. It's going to give them regen. It does your classic decrease fire resist, give everybody a buff, but then it's actually going to give healing power, attack up, and healing power is super good for the regen. Like, it's going to make the regen so much more powerful. So this is kind of an interesting evocation spell, and one I definitely want to mess around with. Now the board here, this is the really important thing that we have to look at. So this is a defense up Esper, and we don't have very many of those. So we have Golem and the Death Machine from Final Fantasy 1, and if you weren't here for that collab, it is coming back, so you can get a chance at it. But this is another chance to get a defense up Esper, and defense up Espers are very strong. You can give them to anybody. You don't have to give them to a tank or an attacker or any, like, you can give it to a mage and they can have less magic power, but they'll be tankier. You can put it on a healer like Ayaka or Yuna, and they can then just be more tanky. Now, I'm not telling you that you should do that, but it gives you those options, and the more you have, the more tankier you can build. So for a lot of new players, you don't have, maybe you won't have Golem or Death Machine yet. This will have the 1k step up where you can actually guarantee, 10k step up where you can guarantee that you can get this, and it's going to be a huge boost for your account, so people can't sleep on that. Then the 25% fire attack up, obviously if you're going the fire route, this is very powerful. Now the other thing here is strike resist up, and I don't know if we have another 25% strike resist up. That's a really high value, and again, something that, a unique thing that you get from this Esper that you're gonna want at some point. Like, you can build these resist builds to help you out in PvP or PvE, so worth considering there. And then same thing again, 25% increased water resist. This is obviously super good for all of your fire units, but it's also good for any unit if you're going to build against mono water. If we ever see a lot of mono water in the meta, then you're going to be able to build this and then give anybody water resist. So and one other thing is the increased critical evasion. So this is just a high amount of it. So this is good because there are lots of people that crit like crazy, like Titus, and then Cloud in the future is going to be somebody that crits a lot as well. So that's worth messing around with too. This Esper gives you so many options that I think that it's worth getting. Even if you're not going to build the card, you could build this Esper and get it guaranteed now so that you have it and you can start building up resonance. You can start working on its awakening and all of that ahead of time for whenever you do need it. We're also going to get an Odin 3-star awakening this week, and that's something we have to mention because Odin's the best Esper. It's honestly like when you look at the stats here, the agility that it gets is crazy. So it gets way more, another 400 HP. It's going to get even more AP. It gives one of the highest AP values out of all the Espers around. This means that you can go into combat and your max AP is going to be higher, which means you start with more AP. Maybe you can start with some higher costing skills than you could with other Espers. And then the agility goes up a point to 20, which makes, a lot of slower characters viable. So Odin's one of the best Espers around. I mean, it already has all these things like in pretty good pretty good stats in all these areas already, so that is a reason to maybe not 3-star awakening, because we do have to pick and choose which Espers we 3-star awakening, not just because of the the awakening prisms, but also because we don't have limitless magicite to level them up. But this Esper does get better, so it's something to consider. The added panels are also very good, so accuracy rate up and then slash attack up. You can build really offensive for slash attackers with Odin, but with the increased points, you can also just go harder into resist. So you could go Man-Eater, and then you could build slash and missile resist, and then still have that attack power from the Man-Eater, but then also have dual resists built, which is hard to do. So lots of value there. And then it gets blind resist, which is one of the weaker status ailment that we see on these 3-star Espers, but it's always good to have like these options. If something is, there's PvE content or PvP content where everybody's getting blind, you have this to be able to equip it. That is worth it. So if you plan on doing this guy or any of the other Espers, then you have to start thinking, okay, well, maybe that's going to come into my Phoenix decision because I can't 3-star everybody, and I have to make a decision for my account that makes the most sense. All right, so let's talk should you pull. For a Mighty Obstacle, the defense is good, and there are a lot of ice units, but honestly, I think the stats and the fact that it's so limited to ice, and it's a bit redundant in terms of ice is already strong against wind. I think this is the pull naturally, build over time. You don't need this card right now. As for Phoenix, I think it's a really insane card for its element, but I also think the Esper is really, really good. So I think that a lot of people have to go for this. It doesn't cost that much just to get the Esper. So you have to decide, again, what are you saving for? Can you 3-star this? Is it going to be worth it for your account? And I think people should give it that consideration. The downsides for it is it's just that it's so exclusive, and that it doesn't have that magic stat, so you can't put this card on like Rain very easily or something. And then the agility is kind of low, but I think this is going to be so good to build water resist for someone like King Mont, but still build defense or any fire unit at all that you're using. So definitely worth considering. Okay, so that's going to be it for this video, and I think that there's going to be more and more difficult decisions ahead because we have more mono element cards coming out, and you have to kind of decide on a direction for your account. I don't think anybody should get bogged down too far into one element because that's just limiting stuff in the future, but at the end of the day, it's going to be all on you to make your own choice. So good luck with that. Good luck if you're pulling this week, and we'll see you all in the comments. Oh, and also on Discord, please, if you're interested, join our Discord. The link is in the description, and I'll see you guys on there as well.